Welcome to Pure Podcast. I'm Mike.
And this is Orlando. And it's time amongst the craziness Q4 to hopefully motivate everyone that we are in the final stretch in this Monday mini-sode.
That's right. Yeah, Q4 is one of those things that's exciting, especially if you're like an Amazon seller, you're doing lots of toys, you're doing things that are going, quick. It's an exciting time, and we're entering that final stretch. So we're going to be talking today about some things that you need to do to make sure you finish strong and, kind of make sure you're capitalizing on this Q4 awesomeness.
All right. So for those of you that have been following us for a while, if you caught our episode last year about Q4, and I talk about this in our extended episode, our full, what do you call those? Our full podcast?
Yeah, the podcast.
The podcast. I had mentioned the idea that there were Q4s that by the 13th, like 14th, I pretty much was done. And this last year, I actually kept going until the 20th. I drove to Arizona. I drove to other parts of California, and I kept sourcing, and sales kept coming in. I would say I probably during that time made, I don't know the exact math, but anywhere from 5 to 10K in that last week.
Yeah. And I think there's reasons for that too, because we talked in the last episode, and I think there's not episode, but mini-sode. I think there's validity to the fact that, you've got to sell quickly. People are trying to buy. People are celebrating Christmas before Christmas. But the same is also true on the other end. There's people who might not see each other until after Christmas. They're going to see each other around New Year's, and they're going to do their Christmas. We used to do this as kids, right? Our grandparents coming in from out of town. They're coming in 5, 6, 7 days after Christmas is over, and we're having like another little mini Christmas with them. And so there are going to be people who are still buying things late, maybe even after Christmas or up until, towards right at the beginning of Christmas, because it's a Christmas gift doesn't mean it has to be there by the 25th. Maybe they're meeting these people a little bit later. So you can still capitalize on these sales. And sometimes I've opened up gifts, and I know a lot of people who do this, where they open up like the picture of the item they're getting, and they're like, this is being shipped and it should be to you within the next 3 or 4 days. And that's a gift too. So there are going to be people who are going to be buying stuff, especially in this time where things are hard to get. We're dealing with supply shortages and all of these issues, that people are going to say, you got me the Nintendo Switch? Yep, it'll be here next week. I got it for you, or whatever that item is. And so people are going to be buying even as we're getting closer to Christmas time. So you don't want to stop too early, because you might be leaving a lot of money on the table.
True. So along with that, you also want to make sure, and I know there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be like, I don't know if I want to do that. Just do it for 5-7 days. Offer same day shipping, right? And you got to have a cutoff time. So my cutoff time for same day is 1 p.m. I know that's kind of cutting it close because our postal office closed at 5, and you get a lot of sales, kind of crunch for time. But same day shipping will make all the difference. It'll make the difference, especially on eBay, because what people are looking for now is when will the item arrive, right? And so if you have 1 day shipping, it's going to start counting from the next day as to when it's going to arrive.
And with weekends and things like that, that could push your item back much further.
Correct. And you can also, on Amazon and eBay, you could include weekends on that same day shipping, which people will be looking for. There'll be people that on Saturday are going to say, hey, I really need this item. I wonder who would be willing to ship it out today before the post office closes. Now, it causes more accountability. It puts more pressure on you. But, you only got to do this for a few days.
Yeah. And the other thing to consider, too, is you say, well, when am I supposed to be sourcing? Well, you kind of have to maybe adjust your schedule. I'm really big on having schedules and knowing when you're doing things certain times of the week. But if we're getting down to this crunch time here, it might be worthwhile to say, look, maybe I normally source in the mornings or source in the afternoons. Well, stores are open late. Like most stores, whether it's an off-price store, whether it's a retail store, most stores are open into the evening. So if you can, make that morning time, maybe some listings, make that afternoon time where you're packing and shipping, and then go source in the evening. And you might have to move some stuff around, but do that so you can get that same day shipping, because you might see exponential growth in your sales just by switching when you ship and when you source.
Correct. And along with that, you can also make sure you set all your stuff to expedited. Now, again, you got to be careful, right? The easiest way to do this is on eBay through your business policies. On Amazon, I offer nationwide Prime on everything. So automatically it's expedited. If the person wants expedited, they pay more if they want second day shipping and so on, or overnight. But on eBay, if you have your business policy set, so for example, one of mine is first class paid, and my first class paid shipping setting is for all my buckles. It's for, I think it's for like all my Hot Wheels. It's for any of those items that can fit like in an 8x6x4 or 12x6x6 box. And you know, that is on the high end of first class, because first class right now is almost as much priority, right? It's about like $6. And so what I can do is I go on my business policies. I change the title of that to, you know, first class, expedited, or whatever I change it. And then I change what kind of shipping I'm going to do. And I put that I'm going to do priority, or I'm going to do express, or whatever you want to do. And then automatically any listing that had that will automatically go to expedited, and it'll show that on the eBay search results on your listing when people are looking for who's shipping faster.
Yeah. Another thing you want to make sure you're doing is staying on top of the prices, because especially, let's say you've got item A, item B, right? My example is I have some puzzles that I bought a whole bunch of. I've been selling them. And as we're getting into this Q4 time, they've been selling a lot faster. And so what I realize is I can actually raise the price here, but I've got to watch it, okay? Because I've got to find that sweet spot. Maybe I raise the price on item A because they're selling and the price is going up across the board, but item B, a whole bunch of sellers got on it and the prices are dropping. If you're not monitoring that, and there's ways you can do it on Amazon where it does it automatically, but if you're selling on eBay and you've got a couple of big hot items, you might need to actually monitor and day to day be changing your prices to make sure that you're getting those sales. Because if all of a sudden you were the lowest price and now there's 10 sellers who are $5 cheaper than you might be losing out on a bunch of money when you'd be willing to drop your price by $5 or $10 and get those sales. So you got to make sure you're watching that. And the same is also true with, you might be selling, hey, look, I sold all 100 of my items. Well, yeah, but you also sold them for $15 an item less than you could have, right? Because you didn't notice the trend changing. So it is worth it to spend a little bit of time monitoring. Now, if you've got like 1,000 one-offs, not worth it, right? But if you've got 5 items or 2 items that it's like, these are the items you're really selling this year, watch those prices, change them daily, potentially hourly, depending on what's going on in the market.
So I remember 2 years ago, I used a Repricer. So that was really nice on Amazon. But that's when, like you said, I didn't have 1,000 items, but I had a couple of hundred on Amazon. And so a Repricer was really nice. But I also had to watch the Repricer because sometimes people were just trying to liquidate and your price would drop and it would, you know, it's catching a falling knife and you're just selling stuff on the cheap. So be careful. Now, I did have an item last year where early November, I was selling it for about $250. And I kept selling it. And I didn't really look at it until, you know, the first week of December. And then I noticed that this item was selling for $350 to $375. So we're talking about $100 difference. And luckily I caught it earlier than most, because there are a lot of people that just liquidated all their stuff. And then it was just me and 2 other people on this Amazon listing. I was making a killing. I'm talking about, you know, super ROI. Probably, you know, I think my math, I think it was like 7 or 8x of what I was paying for the item. And so, yeah, definitely check, because your prices are going to fluctuate depending on if people are liquidating or if there's scarcity and there's high demand on an item. All right. Also, and this is the one, you know, Mike and I go back and forth on this. Like, I'm a big believer, like when the momentum's going, you can always sleep after Christmas. I'm a big believer in 1 hour sleep days, 2 hour sleep days, once Q4 starts going crazy. And not that happens all the time. I mean, last year, I think I probably slept 5 hours on average during Q4, which was great for me. But, you know, there is so much opportunity in a small window of time. I mean, there are people I know that make all their money for the year during Q4, and then they just coast from January to May, and they really don't do much. They go on vacation here and there. They kind of, you know, update their eBay, or, you know, they do a little bit of Amazon, but you have such a small window of time. You don't want to slow down that momentum. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, you always got to find that right level for you and your family and what's working. But yeah, I think you can do anything for a season. And, you know, there's times of the year when you really got to go. Like, even as a teacher, it's like, all right, grades are due in 2 weeks, or I've got this essay that came in. I'm going to be putting in 12 to 14 hour days for the next 2 weeks. But then I also, you know, have a 2 week break coming up, you know, so there's going to be times when you have to go hard and then times when you get to relax and coast. And so, yeah, don't coast when you should be sprinting. So I think that's a good point.
Agreed. So all those things, hopefully everything we discussed today should help you get into that final stretch of Q4, make the most profit possible within those couple of weeks. So make sure that, you're completely aware of the days that you can go up. I would say even until December 20th. I know that's pushing it a little bit. All depends on the post office and FedEx and UPS and all that. But do that same day shipping, offer expedited, be ready to look over those prices and just keep going and going and going. And with that being said, make sure to be real,
be relevant,
and be reselling.
Peace.